And we are live. So here we are once again, episode 57 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf and my guest tonight, Mr. X. Thank you for joining us once again
Thank
for
you.
another evening of fun-filled frivolity. See, you got to bring a drink next time or something like that.
Yeah, all I have is this little.
Yeah, what is that?
It's a laser.
What is that? A detonator or something? I mean,
no, it's a laser.
What are you doing?
Laser for zeroing in your scope.
Yeah, sure it is. You know, you're like, it's not the Hurt Locker, man. We're not covering that tonight. You know, Jesus Christ. So, episode 57, and we're coming with a personal favorite of mine, 2010's The Last Exorcism. So, shall we get it going?
Let's do it.
Boogie Boogie. So you're going to have to start hitting me with all your post office wall names in advance so I can set up the fucking intro.
Well, you just made fun of me for using a lowercase d last time.
Well, I have to, work with what you give me. So
I'm a blue collar guy. I don't go on these Zoom meeting things too often, so I didn't know you could even change your name.
Yeah. Anything is possible. Here in this infinite virtual reality universe, I guess, I think the problem stems from when you try to bring that avatar out into the real world.
Oh yeah,
which happens far too often nowadays, if you ask me. But so I love me some found footage movies, and I remember going to see the Blair Witch Project in the theater. It came out on a Friday night, and I remember seeing it Saturday afternoon, thinking with everyone else in the theater that it was an actual documentary. And still remembering to this day that you could hear a pin drop through that entire movie. There was an unfortunate moment about 30 minutes into it or 20 minutes into it where an usher made the mistake of turning on a flashlight to help someone find a seat, and the whole theater just turned on that guy and just said, "Turn that damn light out." And of course, this was the Frank Theater in Pleasantville, so that usher had a lovely reply for all those people to turn around and shut the hell up. So, it's like, welcome to New Jersey. But ever since then, I've had just a great affection for these found footage movies. And then finally, I guess 20 years later, someone comes up with the great idea of making a found footage possession movie, which is what brings us here tonight.
Awesome movie.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Hold on a second. In the comments here, we got Eric. Eric is in the house, and he says, "Who knew a found footage exorcism movie could be so damn good, dude?" And yeah, it is. It is just a fantastic, fun movie. I watched it this time, and like every movie that I watch for the purposes of this program, I try to catch it with a bit of a discerning eye because I'm looking for details. The whole thing about the found footage genre, and I think the second or third episode we ever did was the Blair Witch Project. So we've been talking about found footage for a little bit. It's this perception of realism to it. That you're seeing what the guy or a girl behind the camera, that they're holding on their shoulder or whatever, actually saw. Whether it's that. The Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity. I love all of those Paranormal Activity movies. This movie, The Devil's Doorway. Help me out. What are some other?
I'm sitting here trying to think of one. I just watched one on Netflix that has multiple parts, but it's like a Spanish movie, I think. That's like another found footage exorcism type movie, and it was really good. Like, it was
Oh, really?
good. I cannot remember the
Is
name.
it Veronica?
No, that was I liked Veronica too, actually.
Yeah,
But
Veronica was a good movie. I can't remember if it was found
no, this is
footage.
like a whole different thing. I think it's on my list. I'll try to find it and tell you and text it to you. But I cannot remember the name. But I myself am not a huge found footage fan. Like the Blair Witch was cool, but a lot of times it's just done badly. So what I liked with this thing is like found footage, but it's like a movie filming people filming found footage. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So it worked better for me. Like, I'm not a huge found footage fan, but when it's done right, it is really good.
When the Blair Witch Project came out, you had the impression that this footage was found in the woods and like the police put it together. And so you were seeing, what the police were seeing about these people who just went missing and were never found. Here, it's the story of a reverend who's taking a documentary crew along with him to try to expose exorcism as a fraudulent practice.
Yeah.
So and I thought that was an interesting and sort of original take.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was just a great movie all the way around. The whole idea of that is fascinating to me. Like, he was sort of he was a preacher, but he was kind of not believing everything 100%.
Yeah, hold on a second. We got some more comments here. We got Divine Will Era. What's up, Mike? Hey, this is going to be good. Yeah, it certainly is. And Eric is back again. The Blair Witch Project, Cloverfield. How could I forget about Cloverfield? That's one of my all-time favorite movies. And he says he thinks you're talking about Wreck, but it's not Wreck. Although Wreck is a found footage apocalypse movie. And I love that movie.
Wreck is really good. That's not it though, for sure. When you play a clip of the movie or something, I'll look for it real quick. But
okay. So I mean, this guy is is a man of faith who's questioning his faith, and he's going on a quest, which ultimately leads him to regain his faith again. It's kind of interesting. He's this Cotton. The pastor Cotton Manley, was that his name?
No, Manley was the other guy.
Cotton Marcus. That was
Marcus,
Cotton Marcus. Yeah. Cotton Marcus is this man who was raised in the church by his father, who was a pastor also, and from a very early age as a child he was a child preacher. And he says, to the congregation, it was quite spontaneous, but for quite a while, my father, had this kind of thing mapped out. So from the beginning, his entry into the church is kind of this staged thing. And I think it doesn't really occur to him, because he's a child, that he may not have the faith that his father did. It seemed like he took it more as an exercise. And now he's become kind of this cynical pastor who, kind of thinks that his own congregation are dupes. Like when he talks about how he can roll, banana bread, his mother's banana bread rest. He's doing card tricks in the middle of the preaching, and all this different, and he's sort of, betting the camera crew that he can get them to, say hallelujah to his mother's banana bread recipe and, all these different things. He's a complicated character because in many ways he's kind of a fraud, but he's not unlikable.
No, yeah, it's a very likable character. And again, the acting is great too. He's really, really good.
Yeah, he's just kind of you relate to him. You relate to him as a human being. He tells this story. He comes from a long line of exorcists. He himself, had an ill child. He doesn't specify into specifically what made his child ill, but it was questionable there because the story opens up where you're at home with him and you see his wife, and she's a sweet lady, and he's got a young son. And he seems like a sweet boy, and everybody's very loving and everything like that. But he tells this story about how when they found out that his son was going to survive, which I thought was kind of telling. He discovered, he was shocked to find out that he really didn't thank God. He was thanking the doctor.
Right. Yeah. So again, it's like back to that faith thing. He doesn't really have the full faith.
I don't think he really has, any faith. I just think he's just been doing this for so long. And because maybe he started at an age where he wasn't, fully developed, cognitively, emotionally, it never occurred to him that maybe he didn't believe it. I mean, he said he had been performing exorcisms since the time he was a child.
Yeah, so just kind of acting a part.
Yeah, he's kind of acting a part. And yeah, he says specifically that he's performing a service.
Yeah.
These people are, unbalanced or, mentally unstable, and they believe that there is, some sort of evil spirit inside of him. So he pulls out his bag of tricks, and he's got 9-volt batteries and
the cross that shoots smoke.
Yeah. Oh, that was too much. That was too much. This thing here, look at that thing. He's got, cotton, where he can, make this smell, and speakers that he sets up in the room. I mean, he's got this completely like Saturday Night Live, kind of skit material. But in his mind, he's performing a service by alleviating people of this this guilt or this neurosis. Of which, of course, he charges them a ton of money because, as he says, the church doesn't run on love. So, he's kind of human, but at the same time, he's a scam artist.
Yeah, kind of a scammer.
He's scamming people out of their money. But he's a likable scam artist. There's no malice to what he does. But then at one point, he reads this story about how a boy was smothered to death, I think, in a plastic bag during an exorcism.
Mm.
So he hires a documentary crew to accompany him to record him performing this fraud. It's an interesting take and start for an exorcism movie, in that I think the possessed person, Nell, really isn't the main character. Usually the possessed person in the movie is the main character. Here, it's this guy, Cotton Marcus.
That's correct. Yeah, it's really a story about him.
Yeah.
I mean, she's sort of a side piece, really.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. So, they're down there in the South, Louisiana, where there's tons of superstition. He's actually getting letters delivered by mail. I mean, who the hell delivers, mail anymore, except for, bill collectors. I mean, half of that is, online nowadays, but he gets a letter saying, my daughter, is or my family is under attack by an evil spirit. And he goes down, kind of like the Blair Witch Project, into this part of Louisiana where everyone is just, and he's condescending to them too, sort of secretly. These people are stupid. The devil's over here, the UFOs are over there. Here's this cult over here. Not understanding, actually, he stops off at that one station, and a gas station, and the lady's like, well, I think the gates of hell are like right over there down the block over here. And she starts telling the story about a cult where the leader has to feed souls to the devil, not understanding that she's actually telling the truth.
Yeah. I wouldn't think so either, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that there are, Satanists that are out there, doing these sorts of things, and these horrible people, a la something out of Hereditary, or did you watch that Fox series of The Exorcist?
No.
Oh, really?
No,
it's on FX. They did
it worthwhile. I was wondering.
It's a 2-season series. The first season is directly related to the first movie, and it's with Gina Davis.
Okay.
And it is amazing. It is worthy.
Okay. All right.
It is worthy. It will scare the hell out of you.
Really?
Second season. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's legit, man.
Right.
It's legit. And so, this idea that Satanists, are kind of among us, just, moving throughout society when you don't really understand, what it is that they're trying to do. Again, a recurring theme here. Also, a corrupt church.
Yeah, that's always. I think that's in a lot of those type of movies that there's some
Yeah,
sort of a corrupt church official or something like that.
yeah, yeah. Here we meet the possessed girl, um, Nell, who is the shy and introverted and sort of low self-esteem, but very sweet kind of girl. You're not really seeing. How can I say this? You're not really seeing her before the possession because whatever it is that's going on with her, she's already sort of under the influence of it. You're not sure if it's mental illness or some sort of, maybe, incest, or she's being homeschooled, and, she really doesn't say very much. And you get the impression that she's very shy and withdrawn, but, again, a very likable character.
Yeah, but when you first meet her too, she's just kind of like she doesn't look possessed initially. I mean, and she just kind of seems like you're saying withdrawn, and like maybe something else is wrong with her. Like you don't see signs of like her head doesn't spin around backwards and
No, in
any of that
fact,
kind of stuff.
it's a very understated. It's sort of an understated sort of possession movie, that leaves you guessing as to what's actually happening here, because there are almost no special. I think that's part of what makes this great. There are very few special effects in this movie.
Yeah, and
Um,
as it unwinds, it all seems to sort of like anything that's going on with her sort of seems to have possibly a rational explanation too.
yeah, I mean, you're wondering if this girl is just mentally ill. Is she traumatized because her mother recently passed? Um, there's the suspicion that there might even be incest, or something like that going on in this house. You're not really seeing any of the telltale possession signs. Crosses aren't falling off the wall.
Yeah, you have
There's no pea soup. No
flies and
one's
stuff or
speaking in
whatever. Yeah.
these. With like the eyes changing color, and all these ghastly things that you normally see. And yet, nevertheless, Cotton agrees to perform this exorcism to just sort of alleviate these people of their suspicions,
Yeah, what they
fears.
think's going on. Yeah,
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
calm them
he
down a little
pulls
bit.
something, he puts something in the water, so they're like the water starts bubbling or something when she puts their feet in them. I mean, it's really like the most lowbrow sort of performance.
And when he
Um,
said when he was showing the father the book of demons, and he's like, "You read Latin?" He was like, or like, he was like you don't read Latin? Like he was like like he was surprised. The guy's like, "No."
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, he does all these different things to put these rather, salt of the earth kind of people,
kind
on
of in
their
their
heels
place.
a little bit, because he's
Yeah,
like the fancy city, reverend or something like
yeah,
that, and they're, not used to that level of sophistication. He's kind of a huckster. The one bit of creep that you're introduced to early is the brother Caleb, who comes across as a sort of angry, but something, a dangerous kid. They're trying to find the house, and they pull up and they see this guy, and they ask him for directions, and he's just like, yeah, well, you got to make a U-turn, and just go back where you came from. Like don't come here. He tells Cotton to his face, if you do something to my sister, I am going to hurt you. And you realize when I saw that, I sort of thought to myself, wow, these people are really out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah. With the tractors, like you said, I see a tractor. That's a good sign. Like when he
Well,
was pulling
but
up. Yeah,
I mean, there's nobody that they can go to for support out there.
that's true too. Yes,
It's
yeah.
not
That's
like
very
the
good.
city. I mean, they're just out in these remote sorts of areas, attempting to essentially, scam these people. I mean, he's filming a documentary to prove that it's a scam. But, you're also dealing, I mean, at the very least, even if it is, mental illness or something, people that are probably a little unbalanced. It's
Yeah,
kind of a dangerous proposition. You're going into some, you're kind of sticking your nose in someone else's garbage. You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah, with those proportions,
that's a dangerous thing to do.
especially in those remote wooded areas.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, you never know what's gonna be under the next layer of trash, you
That's
know?
right. Well, I grew up in Jersey, not far from where you are, so I know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, you keep the lid on that shit and let the professionals take it out every Saturday. You know, that's kind of the way it works. Um, and so, you know, he's performing. It's almost comedic.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
his performance with all the gadgets and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, it's almost kind of comedic. And then he gives that little speech to the father. You know, he doesn't want you. God doesn't want you to mourn anymore. He wants you to close that bottle up. You know, and stop drinking.
yeah,
And you know, doing all these things. And you're like, oh God, this is all right. Um, and then the blowback starts to occur, where suddenly the girl Nell just kind of appears in his hotel room, and nobody's sure how she got there. This is where the creep factor or the mystery factor. I'd say creep factor.
yeah. It would creep me
Sort
out. Like he said it, but he was like 5 miles away from her house, and she had no idea where he was.
Yeah, and then suddenly she just appears, and she's not so sweet anymore.
No, she's like licking the other lady, and like,
Yeah, she's
yeah,
like, you know, trying to get it on with the other lady, and you know, she's just got this dead stare. You know, she's not the person that she was, because I mean, the person that she was, you know, was, you know, kind of childlike, but I mean, she was approachable, and you know, she talked, and she was, you know, kind of cute, you know, in the way that she, you know, presented herself and being so innocent. And then suddenly it shifts, and she's just sort of giving you the dead eye. And you know, then you start wondering, okay, well, you know, are we starting to move into the I mean, because we got about 45 minutes into this. It's only like a 90-minute movie, before anything really hints at the paranormal, which is where she starts to show up in the hotel.
which again is what to me makes it a good movie because I didn't mind that. Like it was like a good story it was just a great story that caught my attention, and which I didn't expect when I got this.
Yeah, it was different than the average possession movie. One, I think, again, it comes back to the fact that Cotton is the protagonist of the story, not Nell. Usually in a possession movie, it's about, you know, Reagan McNeil, or,
Yeah,
you
somebody.
know, whoever the possessed girl is, or, you know, boy, or this, that, or the other. Here, it's the pastor. As he sort of starts to, you know, go through the journey of, you know, becoming who I think he always was supposed to sort of be. Um, but at the same time, his reasons for falling short are just so relatable. That one, you know, where he's on the phone with his wife after he performs the exorcism, and you know, she's saying, you know, we need money for, you know, because you know, our kid needs a new hearing aid. You
Right,
know,
right,
and
yeah, yeah. It's just normal everyday things that he has
yeah,
to
and
take
he's
care
just
of. Yeah,
saying, you know, I don't want, you know, like divine power or anything else. I just want health insurance.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, like who can't relate to that? You know, so we're not really touching on anything sketchy, and I think that's kind of like you said. You know, what makes it a good movie? It's not necessarily rooted in the supernatural, but by shifting the focus of who the protagonist is, it makes it a completely different movie.
Yeah, less horror and kind of more real life ish horror, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Now we start to move into the horror, and this was the scene that really grabbed me. The cat.
Yeah, I don't like cats. So I was
They end up taking Nell back to the hospital, and then they're back at the house, and then she slashes her brother up. So he goes to the hospital with the father, and they stay there. And somehow, while they're all sleeping, she grabs the camera and just smashes this fucking cat with a hammer, with a fucking roofing hammer. And you're like, holy shit, this is fucking insane. You know, and that's where it starts to get a little twisted. Um, you know, she's just appearing in the doorway, you know, she's constantly locked into this, you know, sort of dead eye, you know, sort of look. Um, it's just, you know, it starts to get a little upsetting.
But again,
Um,
not necessarily supernatural. Just she could just be crazy.
yeah, I mean, is that what you thought the first time you saw it, or were you just waiting for the demon to sort of appear?
Well, like if I didn't know it was an exorcism movie, I mean, I was waiting for the demons to appear
Yeah,
when,
so was I. Okay.
since it was called The Last Exorcism.
Right,
But,
right, right,
you
right,
know,
right.
it could just be that she's nuts. I mean, it's again, it's not like there's no pea soup and stuff like you're saying.
Yeah, I think watching it, maybe being the third or fourth time. I mean, I got an appreciation for the other aspects of the movie that it leaves the viewer uncertain.
Right.
On 30 minutes into The Exorcist, you know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Right.
20 minutes into The Exorcism of Emily Rose, you're 100% sure what's happening there.
Right.
Here it does sort of, because there are all these different confusing factors, going on, and it leaves you a little bit unsure.
Well, even down to him going and trying to talk to the other pastor and trying to get them like mental help, and or trying to convince the father to allow her to be seen by a psychologist and all that. Like it's still rooted in reality, kind of.
Yeah, the father is checking all the wrong boxes.
Yeah.
To take it out of sort of a supernatural genre.
Yeah.
He's got this closed off sort of existence, with his children, and he's homeschooling, and they don't seem to really have any exposure to the outside world, and you can't figure out any rationale as to how she would have become exposed to this sort of thing.
Well, too, then they find out she's pregnant too, which is also something they think maybe she's feeling guilty about or something like that.
Well, I mean, before we get to that, what did you think of the exorcism scene? It was one of the most brief exorcism scenes I've ever actually seen.
Yeah, it was like he wasn't taking it seriously. It was just.
No, I mean the second one, the one that happens in the barn.
Yes, yeah. That was quick.
Yeah, but it was actually, I thought it was kind of impressive, in that it was not over the top. It was in keeping with what the rest of the movie was, which sort of this understated, slow burn kind of thing happened. I mean, even during the exorcism, there really isn't any reveal. At that point, I think you're pretty clear that there is, a demon present, and I was very impressed by. Yeah, well, I was very impressed by the part where the demon's voice was actually female. Whereas in most of these, it's a very rough sort of male, this sort of thing. And here it was this sort of smooth, mature, relaxed, which kind of made it all the more unsettling.
Completely. And again, with it being understated, like if it was over the top, it would have probably ruined the movie for me.
Yeah, it still didn't step outside the pacing.
No, it was just it just added to the creepiness. Like if it went over the top, it would be like cheesy and all that. That's what I find so odd with this movie. It's just so well paced and so just kind of flat. Like there's no crazy, super crazy throughout it that makes it unrealistic. It seems very realistic.
It's like it's like somebody's heart rate that's just even.
Yeah. It's just
it's kind of taking you along for the ride, and you're hooked, you're invested, and you want to see what's going to happen next. I think a lengthy exorcism scene would have demanded, something outside of that.
Yeah,
it sort of
agree.
Spoiled where the movie inevitably went. I was a little after the exorcism. And this is what I noticed this last time watching it, the way that she's talking after it's over with, in the third person.
Yeah.
She's telling the story about how she supposedly got pregnant by this boy, and she's saying she liked it, not I liked it.
Yeah.
But she liked it, and I'm like, oh, that's a little, and nobody seemed to pick up on that.
Yeah, and that's completely unsettling too. Yeah, it's obvious that there's something else taking over.
Yeah, she liked it, and I think Cotton says she's going to need a lot of help for a very long time. but yeah, we as the viewer understand, of course, that there's some supernatural stuff at work here. It's funny because I'm working on with my 8th grade class a unit on suspense, and one of the things that Hitchcock talks about is this need to let, he calls it let them play God. Let the audience play God by letting the audience in on everything that's happening in the story. And he cites this example of this movie called Rope, where two guys kill someone and stuff him inside this giant table. And then they proceed, the table ends up in the middle of this dinner party. Where people are drinking and having a good time, and all these different things are happening, and nobody at the party knows that there's a dead body stuck inside this one table where everyone's just kind of hanging out, and the audience knows everything, but the viewers inside the scene have no clue, except for the two people. So that's where the suspense is created. Are the characters in the story going to be able to catch up to where the audience is and figure out that there's a dead person, right in the middle of the room, that sort of thing. Here, they're kind of doing the opposite. There's still so much mystery as to what's actually going on. But I mean, it's the opposite of what Hitchcock is talking about, but it still creates a satisfactory amount of suspense.
Oh yeah, plenty of tension.
That tension is still in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought it was funny just for a second, and I thought I had one of the overlays of the father, Lewis. And when Lewis finds out she's pregnant, the look on his face, and I thought of you covering this. I'm like, what is it Lewis would actually prefer, possession or teen pregnancy for his daughter? Are you sure it's just you're not possessed or something like this? Because I'm not old enough for this shit yet. Lewis is like not prepared.
Yeah.
For any of these sorts of things. And I'm like, poor Lewis, man. He's a simple guy, just, trying to make it through. And, next thing, there are exorcisms. And then you think the exorcism is over, but, it's not, because, your daughter is pregnant. And, it's just poor fucking Lewis. He's just trying to get through.
Having a bad day.
Jesus Christ. So, again, we come back to the concept of we're sort of round robin. It's sort of a circular thing in that, yes, I think Cotton Marcus is a huckster and he is corrupt for reasons that we can understand. But I've said this before, and I don't like these types of shows anymore. And I followed them for a long time until I sort of figured out the formula. Did you ever watch The Sopranos?
Yes.
Okay. I remember a long time ago, I was sick. This was, long time ago, before streaming services and, when you could watch things on demand. And I was homesick and I said, I'm going to pop in or watch some Sopranos, just laying in bed. I was really laid up with the flu or something. And I remember watching about 3 or 4 episodes in a row. And of course, back then, TV shows used to be released 1 episode a week. So, but I was watching, I was like 4 seasons behind or something. I'm like, all right, I'll watch The Sopranos. And, people were like, oh, Tony Soprano, is a great character and, all this sort of, this, that, and the other. And I used to think that guy Paulie was funny. But I remember watching a few episodes in a row, and I realized that there were no admirable characters in that entire show. Everybody was just a fucking monster.
Yeah, they're all
bad. They were just awful. They were just awful human beings. They were murderers, and and almost worse. But that's the formula for a lot of writing in Hollywood, and for the premise of the anti-hero. And what you do to make the person that is doing awful things likable is you simply pair him up against or her up against something worse or someone worse.
Yeah.
So with The Sopranos, it was the New York Mafia.
Right.
You know, it was New Jersey and Tony Soprano against the guy in New York, or whoever was the worst person at the time. You know, you would see it in other shows like that FX show, The Shield, if you remember that.
I do. Yeah, I think I watched some of that. I don't remember a ton of it.
It's one of the best shows of all time. But the lead character is just Vic Mackey. He's just a scumbag. He's an awful human being. Again, you know, you get to the shows like Sons of Anarchy. You know, the Kurt Sutter, was that his Kurt Sutter? His programs. Now they've got the new ones, Mayans MC.
Yeah, the Mayans, yeah.
I remember watching and I was onto the formula by then, and now I recognize it like right off the bat. But I remember by the middle of the first season, you're rooting against the U.S. government, and you're rooting for the drug cartels and the Zapatista government, and I'm like, wait, I'm rooting for the drug cartels and the communists? Like, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah.
You know, but that's the formula of the anti-hero. Hold on, Eric Shield. The Shield is in my top 5 TV shows of all time. You love to hate Vic Mackey. Yeah, you do. Michael Chiklis, that is a performance of a lifetime. Career-defining performance. It's fantastic. But I say all that to say this. Cotton Marcus is also a fraud. And a little bit of a villain. A little bit, in that he's robbing these people of their money.
But he does come around, though. I mean, like he does seem to care after, you know, when she shows up.
Yeah, it's not that he doesn't give a shit, you know, and so that's what I mean. He's not evil or anything like that, but he is a fraud, and you know, considering his line of work in the church, that's actually kind of awful.
Yeah,
it's an awful thing to do, you know. You know, it's like those old westerns where you'd have the guy who was the carpetbagger, and he always had that bottle of something that he was selling, and it cured like everything.
Yeah,
you know,
that guy,
snake oil salesman. You know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have liver pills. You know, and so Cotton is kind of like that in a likable way. You know, he's the protagonist, so they're going to great lengths to explain why he is this way. He does give a shit about Nell and the family. And again, the way that they make him even more likable is to pair him against someone who's even worse, who in this case is the devil. Well, not just the devil, but I mean a corrupt, an evil devil, Satanist cult, you know, sort of pastor who they told you about in the beginning of the movie, you know, who likes to feed souls to the devil.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what really seals this movie for me. When you finally and I think Cotton realizes it too. And there's a scene right before the second exorcism where Cotton is genuinely praying. I don't know if you remember where he's in the rain.
Yeah,
and he's kind of lost because Lewis is going to shoot his daughter. You know, and he doesn't know what to do. And he's like, all right, I'll do another exorcism. Just, you know, put the shotgun away. You know, and there's a moment in the rain where he's genuinely lost. And I thought that was significant. He's starting on that journey to regain his faith through these, you know, these sort of awful circumstances. You know, it's beyond what he can, you know, what he can do by himself. And so, you know, he calls on his faith, which has been severely lacking. And then finally, when confronted with possibly what might have been Abalam during the exorcism, which it was coincidentally the demon that he named in the book. And then again, now confronted with the scene in the woods at the end, he actually steps into the role that he was meant to. I think he was meant to be all along.
Right.
You know, which is an exorcist and a man of God. And that scene at the end, and like I said, this is the third or fourth time that I've seen it. But when I watched it again, and he goes marching into that fire, I mean, it's the simplest special effect in the world. It's just a roaring fire. But it literally, even this last time, made the hair on my arm stand up.
Yeah, it just gives you chills.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, he's finally ready at the end of the movie to be who he was supposed to be all this time. You, the audience, probably understanding that he's not going to survive. But I mean that he's made the full journey, and this is where he's ended up, confronting the devil, and you know, you couldn't be wishing him more well. I mean, geez, it's just that the last 5 minutes of this movie just sealed it for me, and it's just a huge success in my mind.
Yeah, but I don't remember. Was this popular back when it came out? I don't remember it.
I don't know. I think it might have had some moderate success. Um, I don't necessarily remember off the top of my head if it was a huge success or anything like that. I don't think it was a massive success.
No, because
But it's a modest. I think it was like made for under $2 million, and so
Okay.
I think that it ended up. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. The last. Yeah, let's see what it made. 2000. Yeah, because they made a second movie, which isn't very good.
I don't even think I watched it. I think I started and I just didn't care for it.
Okay. Yeah, it was kind of dumb. It grossed 20 million. Yeah, it grossed $20 million on a budget of 1.8. So that's a
bad.
moderate success.
Yeah.
Found footage movies tend not to be the hugest thing. This was sort of, an independent, seemed like an independent kind of movie. It didn't have any A-list stars, but something, I thought it was better than a movie like The Right.
That one I don't know. The Right?
What's this?
The
Hold
Right?
on.
Better than The Right, you said?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hold on. I lost sound for a second.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? You can
Oh,
see my lips
jeez.
moving.
My sound is gone. Stop that. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, this is annoying. I didn't mean for that to happen.
Should I keep talking so you can see if you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I've lost sound.
It's not me,
that's
is it?
so annoying.
No.
Okay. How about now?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Nope.
No.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't believe this. I have lost sound.
Can anyone else hear me? I can say bad things about you.
Okay, so Eric's saying it made almost 70 million total, and Eric can hear us both. So, but Doug and I can't hear Doug.
Wait, I can try to type you something.
Which means that something is going on with the interface here. And that is super, super annoying.
Can you hear me? All right. Well,
hold on a second. Yeah, I see. I got your message. Hold on.
Okay, well, we can communicate that way.
Hold on.
I can't type very fast though. It's nothing on.
Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, can you hear me? Your face.
If I close the stream out, that's really annoying.
I was about to say my most brilliant thing.
Hold on. I'm gonna try one more thing.
Nah, I keep hearing little noises.
Test.
Hello?
Nope, I've lost the stream.
Well, can you see me? I guess I don't know why I keep talking to you. You can't hear me.
Hold on, I'll try one more time.
Okay. It's probably Satan attacking your show.
You there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you. All right. I'm terribly sorry. I seem to be having some sort of audio difficulty. Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
No. Hold on. I'm having some sort of audio difficulty with my device. Hold on. It's coming on live now. Hello?
Okay. Hello?
No. Nope. All right. I seem to have lost audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Are you there?
I'm here.
No. Okay. My apologies to everyone. I seem to have lost audio. I guess we're gonna cut the stream from here. My apologies. Thanks to Doug. Thanks. We'll be back tomorrow when I'm using a different device to hold on 1 second. All right, Doug, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to shut this down for 2 minutes, and then we'll do something where when I upload, I'll re-edit it or something. All right, hold on.
Okay.
I got an idea. Okay, live and learn.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I need to not use that device anymore.
So we're back on?
Yeah, we're back on. Sorry.
Okay.
That was about a 5-minute snafu, and I won't make that mistake again of using that. But where were we? Closing out the scene.
Yeah, I guess we were after the exorcism, he was walking into the fire when we left.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, just brings everything. It brings everything to a natural conclusion. The sort of story arc, which is sort of tragic in the end because you have to assume that he hasn't survived.
Yeah, you wouldn't think, yeah.
No. But in the end, he still kind of succeeds because maybe that wasn't the point.
Right. Maybe that's his fate. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what makes it a good movie.
Yeah. I mean,
not to mention the fact that they did it so damn simply.
Yeah, it's really impressive when you really get down to it. I mean, it's just it's a really solid movie that I guess I had such low expectations that I was really blown away.
And this is what I was saying, and then I guess we can sign it off, and I'll fix it up in the edit or something like that. It was much better than that movie, The Right.
Okay, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, and I don't know that movie. Oh, the right, Rite. Yes.
Yeah, with Anthony
with,
Hopkins.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins. Yes, I know that movie.
And that had big names and big budgets, and all these different buttons, boxes that they're checking, and it wasn't a very good movie. Here you had a movie with no A-list stars. That's just a fantastic movie. Very small production, no big budget, but good direction, and what is actually a good story.
Good story, good acting. Yeah, just brought it all together.
Yeah, so I mean, proving once again that like that old theme from the '90s, that old DIY kind of thing. You don't need those big things to make, to make it work. Yeah, to make it work. So maybe that's some inspiration for the rest of us. I can, start to get these short films that I want to work on off the ground. So, all right, after 5 minutes, I feel a little better bringing it back this way instead of having to close out on a tech error. My apologies. And I'll know better for next time which device to use. So I just had to go crank up the other one real quick.
At least it wasn't me. That's all. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something I did.
No. It wasn't you at all. In fact, I just got a new setup for my microphone, but the plug-in for what is really a good device, but just isn't. I have this one device that's really good, but it's not necessarily good for podcasting because. That's a whole other conversation. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we close out?
No, I guess not. I mean, I would say give movies like this a chance, but every time I give a movie like this a chance, usually it's terrible. So
really, I feel very lucky, and now I'm at this point where I can almost tell by looking at a movie that whether I'm going to enjoy it or not.
I wasn't sure with this one. I really wasn't, but like 5 minutes in, I was hooked.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric says you don't need a huge budget to make a great movie, especially horror, and this movie proves it. Yeah, you're right, brother. So, okay, I guess that's where we're going to bring it to a close. Tech snafus aside, if you like this video, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. Eric's asking one more question. Is the sequel even worth a watch? The answer is no. It is not worth a watch. Oh, and here's something interesting. I was reading a review before we went on the air of this movie, and I didn't even see if it was a woman or a man or the one of the 76 genders out there that was writing it. But they actually tried to make an argument that Cotton Marcus represented the patriarchy, and he was blocking Nell from becoming who she actually had the strength to be.
Yeah, demon.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a fucking leftist argument to me. I'm like, you commie fuck.
I'm sort of leftist, but I wouldn't make that argument. It's silly.
Well, that's we appreciate that here on the show, Doug. Yeah. Please,
plus, I have my bullet. I'm not a full leftist.
Your detonator, yes. So,
yeah.
All right. All right, so that's it for us tonight. We will be back tomorrow. Eric, who's been in the comments and is always here and has always been a friend of the show from the get-go, will be here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time when we tackle another great movie from 2010 and one of my favorite vampire movies, which I'm going to watch as soon as I get off the air right now, Stakeland. So I can't wait for that tomorrow. Especially knowing that I'm going to be using the right computer. Okay. Have a great night, everybody. Don't stick around after the outro for a second, would you?
I will, yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody. And in the meantime, don't waste your time with bullshit.